Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome back to another day of lecture notes. Today's lecture is all about the Constitution and how we go from the structure all the way through what it's about, and including how we change things in the Constitution. So, this is for the week of 10/26 through 10/30. So, it is Halloween week. So, happy Halloween to those who are going out and trick or treating. Remember, be safe and always bring back the candy to Mr. Limbrick. Well, kind of can't because it is COVID. So, looking at this next set of notes, we're jumping right on into the structure. Last week I talked about this just briefly, talking about that the preamble is the first part we're going to talk about. And then we're going to talk about the articles, and then the amendments, and then more specifically the first 10 amendments and how we changed the other amendments as well. So, jumping into the preamble. The preamble to the Constitution actually sets up the purpose of the United States government. If we look at the 6 different things, we can see that each one has a specific task that the government should be doing. So, it is to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty. Before we even get any further than that, let's break those down. The first one is to form a more perfect union, stating that we want the United States to become a better place every single week or every single year than it was the previous year. So every single time we try to make something happen in our government, it's most likely should be, or it should always be, the idea that this should be helping the people. The next one is to establish justice, and we want to ensure that the everyday American has the understanding that its government is not out to get you, but it is out to protect you and to make sure that any atrocities against you or against your property are taken care of. Domestic tranquility is talking about the first. Let's break down domestic. Domestic is home. Okay, so when we say domestic, we say home or with us. Tranquility is talking about peacefulness, and the government's job is to make sure that the home or the United States is peaceful. So things that are happening in the United States, things that are going on within the United States, are all peaceful and are being brought forth in the right direction. The next one is to provide for the common defense. It's to protect the individual people. This one's a big one because some people cannot defend themselves, and the government's job is to do so. Promote the general welfare is to make sure that every human that is a member of today's society, and more specifically of these great United States, are protected in a genuine well-being. So welfare is talking about the well-being of the individuals. Then we look at secure the blessings of liberty, and this is to uphold our rights. And when we talk about natural rights, what we looked at in the Declaration of Independence, the blessings of liberty is talking about the government should not get any further or take away more or do anything other than protect our rights as natural humans. Okay, so the preamble to the Constitution of the United States begins with 3 words that are very, very important. It says, "We the people," thereby actually establishing that the power of government comes from the people. And if we remember or look back, we can remember that the power of government comes from the people. That idea is consent of the governed. Okay, that will come up again. So I'm like circling it here with my mouse. That will come up again. Okay. Moving on, we say that the Constitution establishes the structure of the United States government, and this is how we figure out how we run government and how our government is out to protect us and what we should be able to do and all these things. And the structure comes from the Constitution. guarantees equality under the law with majority rule and the rights of minority protected. It also affirmed individual worth and dignity of every single person. Um, and then it protected the fundamental freedoms of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. And I forgot to highlight petition, but make sure you do so. I can actually go ahead and do that right now. Boom. There we go. So make sure we still remember that. And these 5 freedoms are very, very vital to what we are and who we are. So we're looking at the next part is the articles. So the articles, specifically 1, 2, and 3, are the ones that we're going to focus on in class. So Article 1 sets up the legislative branch. You will be quizzed and tested on these ideas. So remember to write this stuff down. Okay, so Article 1 is the legislative branch. It gives the legislative branch power to make laws. Okay, so Congress makes the laws. Okay, the next one is Article 2, and Article 2 sets up the executive branch, which is to carry out the laws. Okay, and the third article that we look at is the judicial branch. And the third article sets up the judicial branch, giving it the power to interpret the laws. So obviously the government is involved with all the laws of the land in us as individuals. So Article 1 makes them, Article 2 carries them out, and Article 3 makes sure that those laws are interpreted correctly, but more specifically that they do not violate the Constitution. Okay? Next, we jump right on into the Bill of Rights. And the first 10 amendments to the Constitution are called the Bill of Rights. So right next to Bill of Rights, when you write this stuff down, I would definitely write down the following. First 10 amendments. Okay? So make sure that we do understand that and we do remember that. So Bill of Rights, or Amendment 1, excuse me. Amendment 1 is the 5 freedoms: religion, assembly, press, petition, speech. We should know that by now, so that should be something that's kind of, at this point, ingrained in our heads. Amendment number 2 is the right to bear arms and form a militia. This amendment was to make sure that we have the rights to defend ourselves, but we also have the right to help defend our government in times of need. Amendment number 3 says that no quartering of soldiers, and quartering is talking about the actual housing of soldiers. And when we look at that idea, we're saying that no soldier in a time of war or peace can be quartered in our homes without the consent of the home owner. This was a problem pre-Declaration of Independence, with British soldiers just taking over homes and saying, well, this is now the Queen's house, and you have to feed us, clothe us, and everything. And if you don't, then see you later. Have a good one. And that was the problem. There was a huge problem with that. Amendment number 4 is talking about no illegal searches or seizures. So all searches or seizures meaning take, in this case, we're talking about the idea that we don't want our government to just walk it right into your home and search and take your property. That's against the law. Same thing with a traffic stop. If they have probable cause, they can tell you that what the probable cause is, and that's where then they can say that we can search your vehicle. But if they don't have that proper consent, then that's illegal search and seizure of your property, and that is against the law. The Fifth Amendment talks about due process, protection against the federal government. And we've talked about this before, so keep in mind that idea. And the Fifth Amendment is the protection against due process or unfair government actions. And then we move to the last 5. This number 6 talks about, or Amendment 6 talks about the right to a fair and speedy trial. So your trial shouldn't take, eons versus or years and years and years. It should be fair and speedy, and should be then also, which moves into the 7th, which is the right to trial by jury. And we remember that a jury is required of all of us to take part of. and it is a civic duty. Okay. So then the Eighth Amendment is no cruel or unusual punishments. I always bring up the you stole a candy bar, now you're in jail for a year. That's unusual punishment. That's beyond the scope of the crime. So someone who steals something is not going to get life in prison versus we're not gonna punish you beyond the crime that you've committed. The Ninth Amendment and the 10th Amendment are all about the what powers are not written down. So number 9 says that individuals have rights, and those rights are given to the individual. And then the 10th says that all powers not given to the federal government are actually reserved for the states. So any power that's not written down within these confines of the Constitution are given to then the states to have power over. Okay, and this number 10 does bring up, you'll see a lot of arguments about, who has the power to do these things, and is it the state rights or is it a federal right? And that's where that idea comes from. So we had the first 10 kind of at the start of the writing of the Constitution. It wasn't for a few years after that they actually got ratified or accepted. So the Constitution of the United States has these amendments, and the amendments are a change to the Constitution. So next to the word amendments, you should write to change the Constitution. Okay? And the amendment process is considered to be complex or very difficult. And it was meant to be so. We shouldn't just willy-nilly just throw out different amendments every single time we want to. And I spelled Constitution wrong, didn't I? Woo. There we go. Boom. So we don't want the Constitution just to be changed every single year. That's not the case. We want the Constitution to be changed in a way that everybody that's involved in the process is taking it seriously. And to date, there's only been 27 amendments to the Constitution, and that's 27 amendments in over 230 years. That's insane. And we consider the first 10 to be part of the Constitution almost from the start, then there's only been 17 changes to the Constitution beyond the Bill of Rights, and that's pretty big. So in order to change the Constitution in this amendment process, we've got two steps. First step is the proposal, and the second step is the ratification. So the proposal is an action from Congress, and Congress needs 2/3 of the members to agree and to propose the amendment. So 2/3 of the House of Representatives is actually for 292 members. So and 2/3 of the Senate is 67 members. So you've got to have either almost 300 members or almost 70 members in either side of the House or the Senate in order to make a constitutional change. That's a lot of people to get on board with a change, and typically it requires bipartisanship or people from both sides of the aisle, or both sides, two different parties, Republicans and Democrats, to make these changes, or the convention of the states. So the states themselves need to agree that that there needs to be a change, and this has actually never happened, where 2/3 of the states, or about 34 states, come up and say, you know what, we really need to change the Constitution, and it just hasn't happened. Then we have the actual second step, which is after we've proposed this, we've got to ratify it. And so it's ratified actually by the states, and the states needed 3/4 of the states to approve. So we need a higher number than that to actually approve the actual amendment process. And that's 38 of the states have to agree that this has been something that needs to be changed. And once it has changed, that with the proposal, we have got to all vote on it. So, real quick recap of the structure. So we talk about the first part, which is the preamble. Then we talk about the articles, or actually the structure of the government. Then we talk about the amendments 1 through 27, that are all the changes that over the years had to happen. And then we got to remember within those 27 amendments, the first 10 are actually called the Bill of Rights. Now, that was a quick and easy section of notes. Not too bad, I don't think. 8 slides. So, with that being said, today you need to make sure you do write these notes down and are studying these notes for a future test or quiz that may come up in the coming weeks. And I hope that you guys have a happy Halloween, and I hope that you guys have a great week. And always remember, be kind to one another. It's really important.